CGP.
Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Video games, culture, anime, toys, pinball, tabletop.
CGP.
Cleveland
Gaming Podcast. Here we go. CGP. This is the Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
CGP.
Time to press start.
What's up, fellow nerds, gamers, and everyone in between? You are listening to the Cleveland Gaming Podcast, the best podcast in all the land about video games. And when we mean land, we of course mean Cleveland. My name is Cory, program director, MC of the main stage at the Cleveland Gaming Classic, and number 3 on the leaderboard, because number 1 is here. He's ready, and we're going to talk about a lot of great stuff when it comes to Cleveland today. That's Mr. Tom Jenkins. Tom, it's good to have another really local organization on this episode again to kind of dive into some great stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited about today. As you know, always excited, but this is great. Clevelanders doing Cleveland things and talking about the show. So it's going to be a good one.
I could not agree more, sir. Before we get into it, a few bits of housekeeping and upkeeping. This show is brought to you by all of you. Well, thanks for listening. You listen by subscribing, by sharing, by following us, Cleveland Gaming Classic, letting your friend know. Take like 2 seconds. Just press that little forward arrow button. It helps us out. It's great. Y'all are great. And of course, this show is the sister of the Cleveland Gaming Classic, the show proper that inspired it all, created by Tom himself. And that is happening September 19th through the 21st this year. So, you could also go on our website, gamecleveland.com, and buy those tickets. It's going to be pretty great. It really is. It's also great, Tom, our guest this week.
Are we ready to bring him on?
I am infinitely ready to.
Well, let's go to Infiniteque and beyond. Huh?
Well, it looks like you just came up with the name of the episode. Well done.
Let's do it.
Tristan, you are kind of an international Bovon right now. I hear that you're not in Cleveland or Ohio right now.
Yeah. I'm actually in just outside of Toronto. I'm in Mississauga here in Ontario, Canada. So, yeah.
That's what brings you up there? Is it family? Is it work? Or can you just not resist a good plate of poutine?
Yeah, well, poutine is good. It is truly good.
It is good. It's real good.
I'm up here actually is something quite a bit more important. I'm getting married in 2 weeks. And I'm here for my wedding.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. That's a first CGC wedding. We haven't talked about a wedding on the podcast before, Cory.
Well, I'm glad I could be the first.
I've been unable to use my wedding sound effects in post, and you've given me a great reason to do it now, Tristan. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I'm up here in Toronto and the Toronto area. Well, actually, people from here, they call it the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. So I was like, oh, that's so funny. I'm like, no GTA is taking place in Toronto yet. Why not?
Well, this GTA isn't delayed.
Correct. Nice, Tom. I like that. I was thinking about that too, actually. That was big news in the last couple of weeks. But I just have to ask, just because we're on the idea of marriage and coupling, and Tristan being someone who really is in the video game and gaming world, have you and your fiance played It Takes Two yet? Which I hear is very much like a game that you need to play with your partner.
Right. So we have not yet. She is really not much of a gamer. But we're going to work on that. But no, she always jokingly says like her favorite game is Candy Crush. And she only says that because she knows it makes me cringe. But not hating on Candy Crush. All the Candy Crush fans out there, nothing but love for you. But just not my game.
Is it still a thing? Candy Crush is still a game?
I guess. I'm actually not sure.
We can look up analytics and current download data about that Candy Crush. Maybe a little bit, because right now, CGP, the Cleveland Gaming Podcast, has another great guest. And this is a person that is directly connected to the same group of people, the same market, the same community of Ohio-based Northeast Cleveland gamers, Tristan Wheeler. Sir, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's really, really great to be here. I'm not just saying that. It really is great. Thanks.
Well, you are also part of the Cleveland Gaming Classic family, as you with your organization, Infiniteque. Did I say that correctly?
Yep, that's right.
Nailed it. You've been at the show for, was it 2 years now?
Yeah, 2 years now, and I also used to work for the Cleveland Public Library, so kind of helped to forge that relationship there. So, and then just in general, I'm a Cleveland kid that was born and raised right here on the west side of the city of Cleveland, and I used to go to the IX Center all the time for the amusement parks and everything else. So this is just like very special for me, always working with Cleveland Gaming Classic.
Wait, but I gotta interrupt for a minute. So,
Yeah.
Corey, you said he's part of the family. Talking about a wedding. We go way back.
Oh,
Did
I
you
see where you're going, Tom. Where's our invite?
I didn't get an invite. I've heard good things about GTA. So
Tom, I had it in the mail. Did you not check your mail?
I don't know, Tristan. Not looking good. This is gonna be a rough podcast for you.
Listen, maybe he got the address wrong, right? You're what, out in Avon Lake?
Yeah, I was just down in Hocking Hills. Maybe it didn't make it to our house.
That's probably it. That's probably it.
All right.
I encourage you to look at the bottom recesses of your inbox, because I do believe that Tristan did invite us.
I'll check.
Unfortunately, I had a show that I had to do this weekend, Tristan. So my great apologies.
You got to check that spam filter.
Yeah.
Tom, check your spam filter, man. Come on.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, there is.
Corey has access to
seen
my
it.
email, so he's like, "This is bad."
I can tell you what's not bad, and that's having Tristan here in the show. And as our next guest here in the show, we got to start off all of our guests with the seminal question: what are you playing right now, Tristan? What has got your gaming interests?
I'm gonna be really honest. You may not be expecting to hear this, but the game that I'm playing the most right now actually is Bleach: Rebirth of Souls on the PlayStation 5.
Oh.
It's an anime-based fighting game. The anime is known as Bleach. It's been out for probably
A long time.
15 years or something. I'm not sure, but they released a new game on the PlayStation 5, and I had to get that. I had to check it out because it looked really, really cool. Graphically, it's just honestly, I'm really impressed with the anime-based games. They look so good. I'm not gonna say it's the best fighting game I've ever played. I'm a big fan of fighting games, but visually, looks amazing. Looks really, really cool.
No, I mean, I do agree. For some reason, they hit really well. Like, for example, the recent release of Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. I mean, what a game. And all the voice acting underneath there, I gotta say, they went above and beyond. Does Bleach also kind of make that mark to you in that same level of quality?
So, I mean, I'm not like an anime, I'm not an official anime spokesperson in any kind of way. I used to watch a lot of it back in the day, on Sci-Fi Channel, Akira and Vampire Hunter D. But I do think that a lot of the anime-based games today, like, they do a really good job visually. It's something about, like, cel-shaded graphics over, like, the poly counts that these consoles can do now. Like, they look really, really good. And I think they're nicely paired with the source material. So like you mentioned, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, I know that they're kind of like releasing DLC based on the movies that are coming out in real time, so it's kind of cool to see that. I really can admire that a lot. But that's just my take on a lot of the anime based stuff. So
Absolutely, I love it. Tom, what are you playing? And please tell me that you finally started Final Fantasy VII after all of our previous episodes. Please tell me you've done it.
No, but it was on my list, truthfully. Like I was sharing with Corey before the podcast, I watched a couple of videos, not about Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy VII or any of these things you guys are always talking about, but about how to, which some we'll talk about later as it relates to the show, but Mario 64, little teaser for maybe something to come. But then
pretty cool something to come.
Yeah, pretty cool something to come. But so I will admit what I have been playing. So on my phone, my 7-year-old Hudson, he downloaded, I don't even know what it's called, but it is the basically remake of Heroes of Might and Magic. Do you remember that PC game?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it's called. Hang on, looking at my phone, 10 seconds. It is called Magic War League. But it's basically Heroes of Might and Magic 2, but really dumbed down, and yes, like a pay-to-play model, and you have to just let the timer and everything work. But every time I would get periodic internet connection at Hocking Hills, I would be moving around the map a little bit, collecting some gold and battling trolls and griffins, and it's been kind of fun.
It's awesome. It's awesome, man. Making me want to play some D&D right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what I had been playing Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm like, we're getting deep into show season, and there's just too much going on, so I need to have something Candy Crush like where I can just pick up in like 6 minutes and put down. So
Totally hear you on that one. Totally.
yeah. What about you, Cory? What are you playing?
Tom, well,
Go ahead.
before we get to that, Tom,
Sorry.
I want to make sure you know that the coming of the show will not be an acceptable excuse for you not starting to play a Final Fantasy game. And I'll allow you to pick whichever one you want. If you want to do 6 on your SNES Classic, please do. But, you know, we have our guest from 7.
Listen, I'm gonna have to second
You
that.
do not let this be an excuse.
I'm gonna have to second the Final Fantasy.
This
6.
sounds like an excuse, Tom. That you're like, oh, the show's ramping up, so I can't play a long game anymore. I'm hearing it, Tom. I'm hearing it. You are on watch, sir. I want you to know that. Eagle eyes here.
Figure it out.
Nice.
Thank you for holding me accountable. I appreciate it, Cory.
You're
and
welcome.
Tristan, minus another point for you.
Well, listen.
Well, I believe, Tom, you asked me what
yeah.
was I
Yeah, I
playing.
want to know. Yeah, what do you play?
Yeah. So right now, I am still completing or trying to get through my first run of Persona 3 Reloaded. It's one of those classic JRPGs that take forever. But I am also, at the moment, diving into some other gaming domains. We were just actually, speaking of shows that we go to, we just came back from the Sweets and Geeks kind of release event at the
nice.
Great Northern Mall. And we set up a few games there, and I forgot how much I really enjoy playing casual Smash Brothers. We had our Ultimate set up, and I was playing with some kids, and I had a ton of fun doing that. So I actually just kind of rehooked up my Switch and just played a little bit. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to kind of dip my toe
Awesome.
back
Yeah, I
into.
got my Switch OLED ready for this flight because I'm gonna be flying out of here soon. So every time the Switch is so clutch, man.
Yeah, Switch 2 coming soon too. So
Can't wait.
bury that pocket, get ready to pull out that $700, for which I'm
Oh,
sure
is it gonna be that expensive?
No,
I knew it
I'm
was
just
gonna
guessing
be up
after
there.
everything.
Oh,
After
gotcha.
everything, and
It'll probably be more than that after everything. Not to open that whole whatever. But
here's the great thing. Retro gaming is pretty cheap, and that connects with CGC, which is going to connect us back to you, Tristan. See, I found the segue, Tom. We were getting deep into it. I had to get us out before we started to get to some fire topics.
yeah, we got some rhythm now. We're a couple episodes into the season, so we're back. We're in the zone. Great job, Cory.
It sounds like Tom is giving me less latitude to miss on the segues, actually. But I hear you, Tom. You're also keeping me accountable, sir. But Tristan, you know, as a partner of the Cleveland Gaming Classic,
Yep.
we've had the privilege to be able to learn a little bit more about Infiniteque and its Cleveland connection. So why don't you give us and the listeners kind of a first-hand account of its history and the mission?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the history goes like really way back to like, you know, the arcade era, but I won't drag you guys through all of that because we'll be here for another 2 hours easily. But
Yawn.
But Infiniteque is it's a creative tech company that I founded some years ago, and you know, really the whole goal of Infiniteque is to transform games culture into a force for education, equity, and empowerment, especially in underserved communities. If you know anything about Cleveland, you know our community does need assistance in certain places, and so, you know, I personally found like a space that I feel like, you know, I could fill, you know. But to say a little bit more about that, you know, our mission is to bridge like the worlds of like gaming, technology, and cultural storytelling. I think is the best way to kind of put it, to create like different opportunities for like learning, leadership, and general like connection and friendship. You know, we work with libraries, schools, community centers, and we design programs that center people, especially youth and young adults. We try to center people who are often sort of like maybe feel like a little left out of traditional tech spaces or like don't have access to those spaces. You know, we try to create, you know, our own like little like ecosystem of like things where people can feel free to like just join in and like learn.
What are some of maybe like the projects or gigs or anything you've done that kind of stand out the most to you from everything you've done? I checked out a lot on your website and social media, but like I really like one or two things like, man, this was so cool. We really made a difference.
You took the question right out of my mouth, Tom. You took it right out of my mouth. I love it.
Most recently, I gotta say one of the coolest things that I just totally like just geeked out about and I really enjoyed was working with the Greater Cleveland Urban Film Festival. We were at Shaker Square, Atlas Cinema, for the Captain America Brave New World release. So I wanted to do something special with like games, in connection to that movie. So we played Marvel vs. Capcom on the movie theater projector right before the movie showed.
That's really funny. We did something similar recently at one of our partners, Great Oaks Tavern.
Oh, yeah?
For the Thunderbolts premiere, we had a charity draft event in connection with our foundation. And we had all the proceeds go to that, but then I also set up a bunch of video games that had a little bit of Marvel iconography, and so I actually set up Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I love that we were on the same page there.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Although, I gotta say, your movie screen kind of trumps my 17-inch on a flat screen on a great shelf, so you get a win on that one, Tristan.
Look, shout outs to Atlas Cinema because what I was not expecting was that amazing projector to have like no lag on it, so it played really good too.
A very important part of that gaming experience in particular.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, Tristan, we've mentioned it a few times, are the fighting game genre, is that like kind of your go-to personally?
So, it's kind of hard to say. I do kind of like pride myself on the fact that like I can pretty honestly say I don't necessarily have one favorite genre or like game. I've been all over like over the years. Yeah, I mean, you guys know like growing up with gaming, you're gonna get exposed to a bunch of your friends play different stuff than you play, and in the arcade, really you would walk in and it was like you didn't know what to expect. What games do they have in this arcade? So I really over the years got into a bunch of different genres. I do love fighting games. They are definitely a genre that goes way back to like my very first days in the arcade, but I also am a big fan of racing games. I love racing games so much.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to bring it up too and connect it to Infiniteque, because I found a lot of organizations, particularly ones that are like yours, connect to games like fighting games. There's something about the communicative, in-person, LAN style, 1v1 environment that really lends itself. And same as well in kind of like the game development and accessibility spaces. And I was wondering if maybe you observed something similar in your work with that organization.
Absolutely. I will say, I'm actually happy that you brought that up about the fighting games and why those had kind of like maybe popped up a few times. I have a theory on that personally.
Love to hear it.
As a person that grew up in the city of Cleveland, again, I was one of those little arcade kids that came in, and the older guys would like tell me to just beat it because they're, it's about serious business for them. But that was my introduction to fighting games, and so fighting games in particular were interesting, I would say, amongst like myself, my brother, and my friend circle, because replayability was very high, extremely high. You could buy one game and like play that game for a very long time if you didn't have access to resources to get a bunch of different games. So fighting games were just really great because you could get a large group of people to play that one game for a long period of time. Just really seriously, the replayability of those games is what made them so valuable. Not to mention your experience also changed over time because when you first started playing, you're like button mashing, you don't know what's going on. Then you learn how to do the inputs, and then you feel like, okay, I can beat this game. And then you play your first human opponent and you just get completely like mollywopped. So now you're like, okay, we gotta figure out something else. And so as you keep climbing in skill, you find more players that are better than you. There's always a bigger fish, right? So fighting games, I think personally I really don't think they get enough credit for that. A lot of people will buy a fighting game and they play it for a little while, then they just kind of like shelve it. But if you have community around a fighting game, that community can really live for a very long time. Really long time.
Yeah, Tristan, I'm really glad that you brought that up. And I think that's such a wonderfully astute way of looking at the fighting game and the social interactivity of any game that has kind of a versus component. And Tom, you know what that reminds me of is the origins of the Cleveland Gaming Classic and Tecmo Bowl.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right.
It's literally the same thing. That's how this whole thing started with Tecmo, right? I was just on the phone with Tim O'Donnell, who's helping us run it this year, with a couple of the other Tecmo guys that have been with us since the beginning, right? And it starts out just a casual thing, like you're saying, in the basement. Then you find maybe you're good at it, and then you try to master it, and people are still playing the game 30 years later.
Right.
And the
wild.
skills as well
Right.
with the community, going back to what you said, Tristan, which I adored hearing from you, is the whole idea of a bigger fish in the sea, but almost more importantly, you only get better by working within a community and playing people that are better than you. It's a skill of like learning as well, and I feel, you know, your whole connectivity of growing up, be able to have that skill is super important, and especially that skill in real life, not so much on the online servers, where there's a space of liminality where people can say lag or, you know, like, you know, negative emoting, stuff like that. But it's the people coming together in that same sense that I feel like Infiniteque might help foster in that space. Am I right?
Absolutely. And one thing I just want to add to that is like I feel like the social benefit of playing games in the offline space is tremendous. And I will be really, really transparent and open and just say that is another one of the founding elements, I would say, of Infiniteque 2. I am a big couch co-op fan. Even though I played Tecmo Super Bowl and Tecmo Bowl back in the day from time to time, we do literally live in the same space. When I say we, like those of us who understand the value of like kicking back with your friends and playing on the same screen, that is personally, I feel like a little bit of a casualty of the modernization of video games. You don't see that like how you used to. And so I'm glad you pointed that out too, because I have a tremendous respect for like any community which like sustains itself over time and makes it like welcoming for new people to join in. You know, that's not an easy task. So my hats are totally off to like any community out there that is managing to do that, you know, in 2025, especially for a game that's like, you know, 20 plus, 30 plus years old, like super awesome.
Very much agree. And I think that kind of is the thesis of the Cleveland Gaming Classic as well. It's a space for us to come together and have some of those moments where the world continues with our own technological development to become more isolationist. I guess it just kind of helps put some perspective to me, Tom, about, you know, us doing something very similar to what Infiniteque is got for its thesis.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you guys have heard me on this show before talk about, right? That was really the whole genesis of CGC, was exactly what you're saying, Tristan, too, is, you know, I find myself going to conventions and buying a game and then coming home and playing it by myself, or buying it and putting it on the shelf and not playing it. And the whole reason is like we have those memories of playing those games in arcade or on the couch with our neighbor down the street, or you biked over to, you know, whoever's house, and that's what you used to do back in the day, right? So now we bring it back together. I do have a question though. What was the arcade? You said you mentioned an arcade in Cleveland. I'm just curious, the arcade in Cleveland that you would go to, or did you have a couple?
Oh,
do you remember them?
Dude, there's so many. So I feel like this is some like secret lore that I'm about to share with you guys, and I'm so happy I get a chance to talk about this. So I would say that in particular, I'm just gonna kind of stay on the topic of fighting games, because there is a very I would say largely unknown culture to like Cleveland fighting games and the community around it. So when I was really young, the arcade that was like nearest to us and that I spent the most time at was Great Northern Mall. They used to have an arcade in the corner of their food court.
Yeah. It's still there.
It's gone now. Oh no, I mean the
new one.
The old food court's
It's
gone
different.
because it's the movie theater now. They actually tore it all down.
You'll have to
which is
forgive
so
me, because
sad.
I just spent last week there, and there's an arcade right behind us the entire time. So it must be a new one compared to the old one.
Okay, I'm gonna go and find that, because like I'm a big fan of just like trying to keep up with those arcades. But so I was a Great Northern kid, but when I went to school with guys that lived on the east side and just different parts of town. So we would then get together and travel, and we would go to different arcades, and so you would find different crews at different arcades that played a lot of the same games. So you had rivalries between all the malls. So I can just list off a few of them: Great Northern Mall, Powerhouse in the Flats, Rent.
That was what I was waiting for. I'm like, if you were at the Powerhouse, Powerhouse was
Yeah.
where
Oh,
I
you were
was
at the
originally.
Powerhouse.
That was like
Oh,
the
man,
original one.
the guys that
Oh,
were at the
heck yeah.
Powerhouse
They-
were always like the best. They were always in my sight. I always
Okay,
felt like
you
they
don't
were
need to
the
give
best.
Tom any more of an ego here, okay, Tristan? Yeah, I can see already.
The Powerhouse was the spot. It was the spot. I mean, it was. So again, people outside of Cleveland, it's like downtown in the flats. We call the area the flats, and it's now actually where the Cleveland Aquarium is. And yeah, you go down to the flats. It's a brick building, looks like a foundry, right? I mean, that's what they call it, the Powerhouse. You go in the basement, and you go in, and it was just like brick walls. You know that. Just like glow in the dark carpet. It was like pitch black in there, and that's where Cory. You know, I always talk about the grid.
Yeah.
They had a grid set up there.
Oh,
They
that's the
had,
same place where all
time-
that
ti-
history comes from that you told me before.
Correct. They had time killers
wow.
there. They
I
had
love
all the
time killers.
MKs. Yeah.
Oh,
so, I mean,
so good.
So the Powerhouse. All right, and now I want to know another one or two. Sorry, Cory. I know I'm taking.
Listen, I'm already deleting things off the script. Okay, you guys have fun. I'm already taking questions off.
Okay.
So yeah, so we had Great Northern. I forgot to mention Parmatown Mall. Yeah.
P-Town. All right, check.
Powerhouse. Let's see.
Which part of town was originally? I think it was
Aladdin's Castle.
I think it was
Yep,
in Aladdin's Castle.
Yep, sure
yeah,
was.
there it is. There it is.
And,
Did Aladdin's
so-
Castle have a genie lamp that you could rub to get more quarters for extra lives?
That would have been great.
They did have the tokens that had the whatever the lamp
Yeah.
on their tokens there.
And it was right next to a KB toy store.
Okay.
Let's go all the way back, right?
Oh,
That's right.
KB Toys, man. You know what I remember. I'm gonna riff a little bit off. I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm not gonna connect any of these things. But KB Toys and Funko Land, I just remember the magic of walking in there, and then like it was like the first skills of growing up is like learning about the secondary market, trading in your games. And it might be just rose-colored glasses, but I feel like I got more bang for my buck back in the day, and now you get like 12 cents for a trade.
I'm sure you did.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but I feel like when I was a kid, that whole trade in and out was really a learning space for me. But now I feel like it doesn't.
Oh, for
now it's
sure.
like either physical media doesn't really exist anymore for games. I can't find a physical copy of Expedition 33 to save my soul, and I want to play that game next. Or it's all, 12, 13 cents or Pokemon trade-ins, because that's now the new thing that's like all over the place. in
Honestly, I
GameStops and
feel
such.
like you could probably do a whole study on that. You could probably study the economy with just that point over the years, because we experienced it in real time.
Yeah, that's. I'm a theater major, not a math major. I'm gonna hard pass on that. I have my cursory knowledge. I'm happy with that. But Tom, please, like, if there's anything else you want to nerd out nostalgically,
Nope. I'm gonna hold my comments on Funko Land. So
are you still hoping to get a sponsorship out of a company that's already been since deceased? Is that why you're holding your thoughts?
no, because you're talking about getting scammed. I feel like that's where I learned to get scammed. And you'd come home, you're like, wait, I got like $2 for all these games, and I even get some janky cartridge holder for my NES game.
That's very real.
That's a lesson learned. I mean, it's a different kind of sustainability than what Infiniteque focuses on, right, Tristan?
Right. That's
Right?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, I had similar experiences. I also worked in video game stores. I won't say which ones, but being on the other side of the counter and understanding the value to that stuff, yeah, it was a challenge. I was like, I probably won't be doing this long because it felt wrong. It felt so wrong.
You're taking people's souls in those
But
stores.
yes, and then with that said, just to kind of like wrap up, I guess, on that topic of the different arcades. So all the malls basically had an arcade, and each arcade was like a different turf. So you had Randall Park Mall, you had Severance Mall, you had Tower City. Like, it was like a whole like circuit of like competitive gaming way before esports was ever even a term in anyone's head.
It's super cool. It truly is. And, Cleveland, I think, compared to a lot of other major metropolitan cities, has got this great thing about, transit systems and accessibility for movement. So was back in the day that something that really helped kind of propel these different pockets?
Oh, yeah. It was the reason why most of us learned the
That's
RTA,
amazing.
the public transit system here in Cleveland, because it was like, I need to know exactly which bus goes to this mall. And that's how we learned it. And we had rivals at different malls. You learned from different people. You had guys that were just like much older that were like the sages that taught or maybe they didn't teach. Maybe they just took their quarters.
I mean, the different time, quarter stays, right? Winter stays, quarter on the cabinet mentality. Different times.
Yep, 100%.
But you know, we're kind of waxing nostalgic here, so now's a good time as any for you to join in on our season-long arc. Each one of our guests that have been joining us on the podcast has helped us out with answering a question that we would love to get to the bottom of here in the Cleveland community. And that question is, what's the greatest retro game of all time? Tristan, you're our guest here, so it's your opportunity here to nominate something and raise it up. We've had games like Golden Axe get up there on the pinnacle of retro gaming. We're going to bring all of them together, and we're going to do something at the show proper, at the Cleveland Gaming Classic, to figure out what we as a show have nominated to be the best retro game of all time. So Tristan, you get the distinguished honor to put something up there. So go in your soul. Tell us, what is your game that you think is there? Tom, what are you thinking?
Better. It also better be good, because you just gave him like a 20-second lead up to the question. So I'm not giving you any more time, Tristan.
Man,
What's
you can
the
really
game?
tell like
Let's
good
go.
cop, bad cop dynamic is happening here in this episode. Is it Spy v Spy? Is that the game?
Spy v Spy.
all
Let's
this
go.
Before
No
I
more
answer-
time, Tristan.
Wait, I
is it?
I just need a
No.
definition of retro. Like, what is retro?
Well, okay,
mean?
so
Oh.
here's the thing. We just had
Okay.
a short release not too long ago where we asked, is the Wii retro gaming? Most people said yes. So let's set that as the bar, just because it's
Okay.
contextual to our own content. So let's
We think
say
he's gonna pick like Wii dogs or something. What is the Wii cats
Nintendogs.
game?
if someone nominates
Nintendogs.
Nintendogs, I'm gonna
Shut
go
up.
wild. Are you kidding
I'm
me?
gonna question your integrity, Tristan.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and say this. Anyone that knows me already knows what I'm about to say. It's gotta be Phantasy Star Online on the Dreamcast.
Wow, Phantasy Star Online. I love it. It's like online gaming's first real big leap into the mass market. I love that.
Yeah, I love Phantasy Star Online. Loved it so much. I cannot say enough about that game. Loved it so much.
It's a great choice, if only to capture a certain segment of gaming that we haven't seen yet. We haven't talked about MMOs. We never have.
We haven't talked about that a lot, and I have a good friend that would always talk about Phantasy Star Online. We would always talk about it, and I know nothing about it, so I can contribute nothing to this conversation. You're welcome, listeners. Again, this is where there are gaps in things I know. This is another gap.
Well, the good news is we're filling those gaps in for you, Tom. Once you get that Final Fantasy on, gap filled. And then Phantasy Star Online's not that far away. Not that far away.
Do you see the linkage here, though? If it's got the word fantasy in it, Tom doesn't know about it.
You don't have to tell us about your fantasies, Tom. That's a different kind of podcast.
Sorry.
Wait a minute, Corey. What's your favorite Final Fantasy? I'm curious.
It's a tricky question. I started, and I think I'm going to start with the first Final Fantasy I ever played, and that's 10-2.
Wow, that's your first one.
It was the first one I ever played. I loved the commercial. I bought a PS2
Wow.
for it. After like working a bunch of shifts at the Quizno Subs, boom, there's another retro thing for y'all. But
Awesome.
I thought I there's something like unparalleled to like the pace of the job switching system, and then eventually when I got around to playing the proper 10 like it just feels a little bit slower. I don't know. I love the challenge of it. Anyway, that I would probably put that up there. I really enjoyed 16.
Wow.
I played a lot of 11. That was my MMO of choice.
Okay,
And I also
awesome.
adore Lightning, so I do like 13, even though people call it Final Hallway 13. That's
I've never heard that before. That's hilarious. Wow. Mine is Final Fantasy VI, and I was really close to mentioning that for a retro game, but Final Fantasy VI really changed the game for me. I honestly, that game really taught me that games can be like art. Like, I didn't know that games could really be like a book, could really be like a novel. It could really hold that kind of weight until I played that one.
Oh yeah, I love Terra. I think she's one of the better Final Fantasy main protagonists. Like her story is just so sad, and the opening cinematic of walking in that Magitech over the snowy plain, and then like slowly learning about it. And of course, we don't have to mention Kafka, one of the best villains of all time, and suplexing the
best
Phantom
villains.
Train. All those things, just so much joy.
Right.
So much joy.
You know, fun fact.
You guys aren't asking for my commentary, by the way. I'll just sit here. It's fine.
Do you enjoy suplexing trains, Tom?
No, but I was going to say, Final Fantasy VII really holds a place in my heart.
Oh, great.
Obviously, for its iconic, excuse me, hold on, let me read this text. Groundbreaking graphics, unforgettable.
If you need to
characters.
zoom in a little bit, you can click View on your Google browser and zoom in. Control Plus will do it as well.
Excuse me,
Tom.
Cory. I'm talking like Cloud and Sephiroth, and who could forget the Materia system, which offered deep customization and the story's natural blend of environmental themes and personal struggles that resonate with so many of us gamers today.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for that wonderful summary.
Son of a...
That is hilarious. I love it.
Tristan almost bought it, I felt.
He was close. He was close. He was close. You're getting
That was legit.
Tom. When you eventually play the game and you know what you're talking about, then I think you can really put some oomph behind
I
it.
just feel like it really was it defined a JRPG for PlayStation and beyond.
Man, poetry.
You know, fun fact. The name of my company, Infiniteque, was actually inspired by Magitech.
There it is. There it is. I know you mentioned it briefly before, and I was like, is it
Yeah.
Magitech? Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Yeah, I really love that game a lot, though.
Well, Tristan, I have to say you've really been inspiring, not just in your history of talking about Infiniteque, but you also seem to have inspired Tom a little bit here. He seems a little bit spicier than normal. And so our end of episode engagement is actually kind of directly connected to that spice because, Tristan, we're going to engage in something I like to call hot take takes. So I'm going to read to the both of you a series of hot takes that I have accrued from the internet, both on blog pages, Reddit, and other places. And basically, the two of you are going to take them, and you're going to tell us if you think these takes are worth their weight or just a bunch of hot garbage. So I read take, you tell us if it's good or if it's gone.
So like a hot or not with takes.
Right.
Is this a
Yeah,
thing?
basically.
Hot or not take.
What was hot or not? Was that in the 90s or 2000s? I don't even know.
I think that was
I
2000.
don't even know. All right. All right, I'm ready for your hot takes, Cory. Tristan, what do you think? We got this?
We got this.
How are we doing this? Are we...
I'll read it out. I'll throw it to one of you. You say something. Debate can happen. We're doing it live. We'll figure it out.
Debate will happen. Got it.
Now, if you guys want me to award points, I'll award points. I've been the judge of debates before for high school. I can do that.
Tristan, what do you think?
I'm with it. Turn into a game. Let's go.
Yeah, you're already -1, so I feel like the odds are in my favor. So good.
I mean, he's +1 for me, and I'm the one scoring, Tom. So
All right.
good luck. Good luck. All right. Let's go and start off first here. I think this one is a hot take that is like relatively lukewarm after a few years that we've kind of experienced it. But number one, subscriptions are happening and physical media is dying out and will be a thing of the past within the next 10 years. Is that a hot take or is it a not take? Tom.
I mean, I don't know how to answer. I feel like it's an inevitable, I will say. So does that mean I think it's hot or not?
Oh, so if you think it's a hot take, that'd be like, oh, it's kind of like crazy. You're saying that it's actually not that hot because it is very realistic to happen in the next 10 years.
Yes, the latter. I know that's going to be controversial, especially for a video game convention, but I do feel like we're going to keep getting pushed further and further down that track. Like it or not. Hot or not.
Tom, going in camp, not. Tristan, how do you feel about it? Do you think that take is a hot one, or are you more aligned with Tom's nah, it's really going to be on the way out?
So, to be honest, I am going to agree with Tom. I'm going to go with not on this one because I think maybe 10 years ago, that would have possibly been a hot take. But now it's the writing is very much on the wall. Like, we know where it's going. I don't even see how we can reverse it. I mean, not to like sound like really, really sad about it, you know, or sound like really like I've given up hope on it, because I do believe in like physical media, and I really want more of the in-person gaming like we talked about earlier. But I think that's not a hot take.
Yeah, and I think about that also too a lot from the show's perspective, like running the con, right? And also even video game preservation and history itself. Like, how will we do X in the future, right? When you see things like, hey, Halo's no longer supported online, or this is no longer supported here. Like, how will we do that? A lot of people ask those questions, and that's important to us, like, as the show. People ask us, like, how can we play these games? How are you going to have it there, right? And if physical media isn't a part of it, it becomes harder to preserve, but then to your point, Tristan, to create that experience for people. So it's sad, but I feel like it's happening.
I was going to award a point to Tristan, which I will, but Tom, I actually think your connection to the show and being arbiters of classic media, I'm going to award both of you a point. I thought that was actually both well articulated and riffed off each other very nicely. Hat tipped to both of you. Strong start.
Thank you. Nice job, Tristan.
You know what I kind of feel like? I feel like the guy who's at the head of Around the Horn on ESPN right now. Like, if I could press a button and give a bunch of points on there, I'd be like, oh, we made it. We did it. We figured it out. All right, here's number 2.
So we're tied.
Right now tied 1-1. 1-1 for both of you.
All right.
And I'm giving myself the latitude to award multiple points in a round should someone really bring a very good point to their hot or not take. So statement number 2, DLC and microtransactions have no business in single-player games. This take, of course, being that downloadable content is just an extra way to monetize something and keep a story going, whereas they could have just built it into the game itself. So, downloadable content, microtransactions, first-player games, it's basically a gouging method, is the theory here. Tristan.
Ooh, I'm going to go with that's a little bit of a hot take. Because I do think that, like, downloadable content, previously known as expansion packs, has a lot of potential. I do believe that, like, DLC can work well in single player experiences. It's just unfortunate because we just don't see them applied that way much anymore. It used to be really commonplace with expansion packs, but nowadays I feel like that's not so much the case. So I don't know. I'm gonna say it's a hot take because I have hope that it can go back to the way that it was.
That might be a hot take unto itself. Tom, what do you think?
What I want is for a game to be released, but also supported longer term. That to me is what good looks like, right? So if I can go a year and play that game.
Tom playing out his business terms of what does good look like.
I want to be able to play the game knowing that they didn't just release it to hit a release date. So going back to, we talked about GTA at the beginning, I think that's a good thing, right? Where I know obviously all the socials online are like, what the hell's going on? Delayed till next year all over again? I would rather have that experience than get a 75% baked game known by the devs, but known that they have to do it for shareholders or whatever other reason, bake it fully, and then in a year, like they did with, I just mind blanked. It's Dan always on here, always talking about...
Elden Ring?
Elden Ring, thank you. That, to me, is DLC/expansion pack material that now has come of age for me to get. So is that hot or not? I don't know. Is it? So am I saying it's not a hot take? I'm not good at this.
Yeah, you're kind of fumbling around here a bit. I'm kind of lost too.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer this.
Tom, can you tell me what you just said?
No.
Point to Tristan. All right.
Fair. Totally fair. Everyone on the podcast just had to listen to me preach for 10 seconds. Apologies. 2 points to Tristan. You're welcome.
Can't argue with the showrunner. That's 2 points for Tristan. Tristan up 3-1. All right, Tom, you get to start off the next one here. I would have given you a rebuttal, Tristan, but I wanted to stop before we get ahead of ourselves. Take the points and run. Tom, we're going back to nostalgia on this one. All right? It's a very simple one.
This is more my turf. Got it.
This is simple. Sega does what Nintendo don't. Is that a hot take?
I mean, I agree with it. So what's happening? It's hotter.
I mean, it's not hot. It's not.
Not
so basically,
hot.
You're saying that Sega was superior to Nintendo in the console war. That is the subtext of this question.
At that moment in time when that phrase was the phrase, Yeah, they were kicking ass. Genesis, side by side, pixels. What was the blast? Blast processing? Are you kidding me? They had blast processing, not a hot take. That was reality. Deal.
You're definitively saying, due to things like blast processing, greater graphics, better sound, that it was better than the Super Nintendo.
Have you seen how fast Sonic can go and how slow Mario was in that side-by-side comparison video?
I do remember that.
No contest.
I do remember that.
Altered Beast? Let's go.
All right, so we're saying that it's not a hot take of Sega does what Nintendo don't. Gotcha, Tom.
So bad at this, but sure, yes.
Tristan.
I'm definitely gonna go with that. Is a hot take. It's a hot take. I don't.
Oh,
I love the Sega Genesis. Let me be clear. I do love the Sega Genesis. So many amazing games on there. Sega first party stuff, amazing. But when you have games like Final Fantasy versus any RPG on the Genesis.
All right, now you're talking about Final Fantasy on the NES, though. Right? Now, are you comparing NES or SNES?
so Tom, you definitely set the debate. Tom set the debate away from the Master System and into the time frame of the phrase itself. Sega does what Nintendo don't. And that is like that early era pre expansions of the Genesis.
SNES wasn't out
Sega,
yet.
yeah.
SNES wasn't out yet.
Well, yeah, I would say it wasn't out yet, but also they ran that during the SNES as well. So I'm willing to take any of that. But Tristan, continue.
It is a good question. No, it is a good question.
You double back, I get 3 points, by the way. So please continue.
Well,
Oh no! I'm running this debate here, Tom. Why don't you calm down before you lose the point?
I'll go with Super Nintendo. I'll firmly stick with Super Nintendo on this one, and I would definitely say it's a hot take because I think that the Super Nintendo just had more bang for the buck when you talk about the library as a whole. Because games like Mega Man X, Street Fighter, Turtles in Time, Final Fantasy, F-Zero, Mario Kart, Sega did not have the same quality, I think, maybe, of multiplayer games and higher games with really high production values. Because I just think about games like Super Castlevania 4. That soundtrack was amazing.
Very good.
And I didn't think that anything on the Sega Genesis was matching that for that time.
Tom, I'm going to give you a rebuttal here. See if you want to, because we talked about a lot of games there, but I bet you could probably pull out a few from the Genesis as well. Over time, I think that the names from Nintendo have longevity. But Tom, of the time, I feel like you might be able to put it up against the SNES.
Easy. This is such a home run. Great. Named all those good games. Guess what happens when you're the guy going to school and you're playing Mortal Kombat on the SNES and I'm playing it on the Genesis? You can stick with your green blood, blue sweat, and but listen, Genesis was the OG. Got the blood right out the gate.
Yeah.
You can play it. It's fine. You can put in your code. Do what you need to do. Feel fine. Get mom's approval to put in the blood code. But listen, play another Genesis. That's all I gotta say.
I'm a Super Nintendo guy, but Tom, I think you actually played that debate very well. I do award you a point for this round, Tom. And it hurts me, Tristan, as I do enjoy a good Super Nintendo game. You listed some great bangers, but also Tom gets the Sonic points of it. Sonic versus Knuckles and Sonic 3 is a masterpiece, and there is something very special about that. Granted,
Totally.
my favorite game of all time, Super Mario RPG, is on the SNES. I can't put the blinders on. Tom, I gotta say the Mortal Kombat argument kind of got you that point there pretty easily.
I'll also just throw in against myself the sports games on the Genesis, stomping everything on Super Nintendo.
Ooh. All right, Tristan, you get to start the next round. We have 2 questions left here in our hot takes. This one is from a random Reddit user here, and said that on classic retro games, bald characters were overpowered because they got great wind resistance. Is that a hot take or a not take, Tristan?
Wait, one more time. What was the question? Bald characters had what?
Of course, no. There,
All right. No, that's just a technical right there.
no,
He's just
I
rubbing
don't.
it.
No, Tristan. Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear that question. Would
Yeah,
you
I'll read it
that back
again.
to me?
Bald characters in retro games were overpowered because they had less wind resistance. It was unfair. Tristan, is that a hot take or a not take?
I'm gonna go with a not take.
Saying that it's fully true. You feel like
I think that might be true. No.
might be true. Might be true. Tom, what do you think?
I think it's a hot take. I don't know which answer that means, but I think who was it? Sagat? Was Sagat in Street Fighter? Was he bald? He was bald, right? So tall.
Yeah.
He had good-looking shins. You take that take the knee to the face.
He was no joke. He was so scary.
Well, for this round, I get to award the point to Tristan because this is the Tom meme round. So sorry, Tom. I guess I'm gonna give the point on that one.
Well deserved, Tristan.
No, we're not earned it all, but it's fine. You still get some.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, here's our last question, and I think this one is very interesting, and I would love to see what people think of, because obviously in a post-internet world, discourse really ramped up to a space that exists now, and we all have to be a part of. Tom, is it a hot take or not to say that gamer expectations are too high? People expect too much out of games. So the proliferation of complaints, of micro complaining or small things complaining, is too much in vein of the larger development and quality of a game. Is that a hot take or is it a not take?
I think people do complain a lot, so I'm saying that's a not take.
Great. Dive deeper in, sir.
I mean, I think of it this way. When I play games, even still today, I find myself going back to games that were really simple, right? Whether it's board games, card games, tabletop games, old PC games, picking up the NES with the kids. And I'd be hard pressed to think any of those developers, I'm not taking anything away from them, put the billions, truly what we're talking about again, going to GTA and beyond, of dollars into development, to research, to play testing. It didn't happen. And these are the games that we were just talking about through this entire episode that we still play today. So I feel like we got it pretty darn good. And, you know, true game development and design can come organically and simply. And I also think it isn't sometimes even realized in the moment, right? You don't know something is retro or classic, or you're going to be playing it 30 years from now. I would never think I'm playing Red Alert 2 on PC still, or Age of Empires still with friends online when you were playing it at that time. So I feel like if the gameplay stands for itself, stop being a critic about everything, play it, and see if you'll still want to play it in 10 years. How's that?
So Tom saying that player expectations are too high is saying that that is a hot take because we should calm ourselves down a little bit and enjoy what we have, considering the amount of hours and enjoyment that anyone can garner out of a game.
Yeah, says this cranky old bald man over here yelling at the cloud.
Yeah, that cloud. You really showed that cloud. Really showed that cloud, Tom.
Shaking the fist.
Tristan, what do you think? Gamers' expectations are too high. Hot take or not?
I'm actually I'm gonna agree with Tom. I do think that gamers' expectations tend to be too high, but I think I think that for a slightly different reason. Not to say that like I disagree, because again I actually do agree. But one of the things is I would say that like our generation, like growing up, you know, we were playing games when they were new, right? And so I feel like back then game companies took a lot more chances. They did a lot of different stuff. So we kind of got into the habit of seeing a lot of new, quirky, you know, different kind of games. You know, we go grab a Game Pro and go grab an EGM and read about these games. And so I think our expectation to some degree kind of got to a place where it was like we were always expecting something new. And we didn't even know like how lucky we were at the time, because now you don't really see these companies, game companies, really doing a lot of new and different stuff. Like a lot of people kind of just follow the leader because it's like, well, that's safe, you know? So I think, you know, our expectations became high especially those of us who've been playing games for a long time, because we saw how wide of a variety there was, and now that variety is just not like it's not the same. So our expectations, I do think, are higher.
So, in the spirit of discovering new things, with being, say, usurped by AAA games needing to turn a profit, and finding that we have to use similar equations over and over again, saying that the statement of player expectation is too high is, in fact, a hot take, is what you're saying, yes?
Player expectation is too high. Yes, I do agree with that. I just think that just for a slightly different reason than what Tom pointed out.
I love that reason, though, right? I mean, because it applies the same too with cinema, right? Like I watch a lot of movies and movie reviews, and it's the same thing. Like you're talking about, people just place the bet where they know, again, shareholders, whoever's backing the project is going to support it. Where you're exactly right. It's a really good point, Tristan. Like back in the day, be like, all right, we're going to make this game. We're going to call it Mega Man or Castlevania. We don't know what we're doing. It's going to be about a guy.
Look at the original Mega Man art, right?
Right. The box art.
They took chances.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't see a lot.
They
You
took
don't
chances
see
on that
But then
stuff.
also, too, what was the game you guys were just talking about at the beginning? Again, I'm not remembering. You were asking if you're playing it. That two-player game everybody's talking about right now.
Oh, It Takes Two?
It Takes Two, right?
Yeah.
Like, that game is getting insane reviews, and everybody's talking about it because I feel like they took a chance on it, right? And they're doing something dramatically different. So that does show you, to your point too, Tristan, like if you do take a chance, the payoff could be huge. Because I know they're already talking about making a movie out of that game now, even.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after some very compassionate arguments here, I'm ready to rule some points here. Tom, I'm very pleased to award you a solid 4 points for everything you put out there. Not only riffing from Tristan's ideas, but also you're establishing lines here of looking at player complaints and the whole visage of the scope. I think it's very well argued, sir.
Yeah.
Tristan, you get 5 points because I thought that your points were just amazing. I really, and we took the question into a completely different realm than I thought it was. And despite the fact that this whole activity had us thinking backwards with hot or not and all that stuff, Tristan, congratulations. You get to win the debate today. Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you so much. No, that's great. Thank you.
You earned it. Congrats, Tristan. You earned it.
Thank you. I actually really appreciate that. Hopefully we'll have another chance at this in the future.
Tom's got to get a W back after all, right?
Challenge accepted.
Tom, you got a lot of challenges so far to go through, at CGC.
I mean, I'll use my bald guy superpowers you were talking about earlier. We're overpowered.
That's why if you follow Tom
done
on any of his socials, you see he's got a lot of running videos. That's the lack of wind resistance, baby. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But Tristan, thank you so much for being part of the show. Before we go, can you tell people that are listening where can they find Infiniteque? What's the next project? Obviously, you're coming to the show, so give us a little bit of a rundown of the future and the scope and where we can find you.
Absolutely. So, number one, you can find me at www.infiniteque.com. That is my main website. There's some updates coming, some changes coming really, really soon because there's a lot of exciting things that are coming up in the city of Cleveland. You can mostly find me doing events in the city of Cleveland. So one of the things that we have coming up is we're going to be doing something really special with games culture and barbershops. I can't talk about all the details right this second, but it's going to be really cool. So keep in touch with me on my website, and also check out socials. If you just do a Google search for Infiniteque, pretty much all the results will come back to me. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm pretty much on every platform under that name, and I can't wait to share more news.
Cory, just don't bite on it. You're waiting for it. So I got two things. I think it'd be helpful. Can you spell Infiniteque for our listeners too? So
Absolutely. So it's Infinite, Q-U-E. So Infinite, INFINITE,
Perfect. And then, I mean, yeah, I will definitely be following the barbershop updates, Cory.
Yes, it's going to be really cool.
That's me burning myself. I'm doing it in advance of Cory. I know.
I can't take that low-hanging fruit. It's not fair. It's just not fair.
For those of you listening, I could just... Tristan's sitting here like, wait, what's happening? And I'm sitting here like, Cory...
No, he could say, look, I see the vision, the beard line up and everything. Like,
Barbershops are also facial hair, Tom. Come on, where's your mind at, Tom?
Corey is sitting on a tactical nuke, just waiting to. He's just like tactical nuke. Oh, barbershop Joe Jenkins done.
Tristan, I'll send you the second key to turn. Okay. You know, Tom, I have to say, even though the premise was kind of backwards thinking with the hot or not takes, you actually put together some really good arguments here today. Just so happens that Tristan really got you on that point with the bald characters. Not your fault, though.
Not a hot take. We are doing a pretty awesome podcast, by the way. Or is that a hot take? I don't know.
It came out of nowhere. I didn't know what to do with that.
I don't know what we're doing.
It was just kind of like debate points with a hot take. That's what it was.
It's so confusing, though. No, it was fun. Tristan did a great job, too. I mean, his commentary, we're talking about game development and, again, just
all that arcade culture. I loved hearing about that with the Cleveland area.
It was amazing. It's funny how we all share, and even like when you were chiming in about the arcade, didn't grow up in Cleveland, same thing, apply different city, state, wherever you guys are listening from, it's the same thing. It's really great to hear.
I mean, legitimately, the way that Tristan put some of those points, the astuteness did so much resonance with the Cleveland Gaming Classic. The cultures coming together and that connectivity, the accessibility. Like, Tom, us bringing those games to everyone is just really kind of making them more accessible, making them live on. I love it.
I just feel like also, too, now that I think about it, I probably do remember seeing him at a Powerhouse and probably just decimating him in Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. So, sorry, Tristan. I know it didn't come out of the episode, but you'll hear it. You'll hear it now. So you're welcome.
Memory is a funny thing, how we replace a savage loss with an epic win. But, Tom, I'll let you stew on that one for a little bit. But to the listeners, were you part of any of that Cleveland arcade scene? Was there a hot take that you disagreed with or an argument that you thought, yes, that was definitely it? Leave it in the comments below. That's on YouTube. That's on the podcast. That's on our socials. So do all those things. And, of course, take a second to look at the show notes. We're going to leave all the links for Infiniteque there as well. And don't forget, tickets, show, GameCleveland.com. 19th through the 21st of September. That's when the Cleveland Gaming Classic is back, bigger than ever, and ready for all of us to celebrate some of that classic gaming.
Hot take. It's time to hit save on this file for now, though.
Not take. We'll write down the password as well. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name is Cory.
This is Final Boss Tom.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Powering down.